First half of 2025 is over, and I'm going to give you a full breakdown of my social media analytics. So, exactly how many followers and impressions I got on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, email, and I'm going to share some takeaways. I'm going to share some things that you can apply and help you drive more leads for your business and make more money. So, high level, I just want to say that social growth is fantastic. And if that's all I was optimizing for, I'd be treating it very differently. I'd probably be doing paid ads to just grow my accounts. However, my primary use case of social media isn't to grow my social media accounts, it's to grow my business. And so I'm going to walk you through some wins, some lessons, some next steps for all of these platforms. So, first and foremost, we have LinkedIn, and I'll have some visuals like this that you can look at in a moment. But high level, in the last 6 months, so January through June, I've gained 9,400 followers. That's net followers, which means some people unfollow you. That's just the nature of social media, it's the nature of email. But net new followers, 9,400. 1.7 million impressions and 166 posts. So there's 365 days in a year. So this was not quite every day. There were some days missed, some Sundays, maybe some Saturdays, but pretty close to every day. On X, I gained 100 followers. I had 420,000 impressions. I don't know how many posts I had. I don't have perfect tracking for that, but I know that it was a lot less than I'd done previously in previous, like the previous 6 month period. YouTube, I gained 160 subscribers and I got 4,300 views and I uploaded 20 videos. For email, I gained net new 3,500 email subs. Email, by the way, is where people are pickiest. And so the unsubscribe rate will be highest, especially if you're launching something or promoting a product. And I've done several launches this year. And so I've actually gained more like 5,000 email subs, maybe a little bit less, but net new about 3,500. My average open rate is about 40% with a click-through rate of 2 to 3%. In general, I send 1 to 2 emails per week. So just from looking at this, we can get a high level overview of where my focus is, what platforms are working best. But a couple more things. I send a lot of DMs, so that's all behind the scenes. I optimize for sales calls more than social media growth, which means I'm not just trying to go viral, I'm trying to build authority in my space. And that comes with the trade off. I often reach fewer people, but more of those people convert. And then I use social media as a tool to grow my business, not a way to get validation. So I think a lot of people make this mistake where they feel like they have to get extremely vulnerable, they have to share the most intimate details of their lives. I don't feel that way. I see it as a piece of leverage, a tool that I can use to essentially, yeah, just grow my business. Okay, so you took a look at those numbers. A few high level takeaways. The platforms that have performed best for me by far have been LinkedIn and email. And that's where my focus has been because they're driving the most revenue to my business and they're also growing well. Then you can see the platforms I've still been fairly consistent with, but haven't had fantastic growth. So X, I've obviously I got 420K impressions, and that's not by just having one random viral tweet. That's pretty. It's just a lot of base hits. So I've been tweeting there pretty often, but my growth has been really slow. And then YouTube, I've done 20 videos. I'm getting, it looks like 10, a little less than 10 subscribers per video. So not nearly as impactful as email and LinkedIn, but I continue to do those. So that's just another high level obvious thing that's happening. And then third is I post a lot of content. And I do have a little bit of help from my team, especially for YouTube. I have my assistant I'll basically send this video. I'll just download it, send it, say what the headline is, say what the thumbnail should be, and then he'll go and make that happen. And so that's like a little bit of leverage, but for the most part, I'm writing and making all of the content for all of these platforms. So I am posting a lot of content. Why? It's the number one way that people find out about me and my business. So it drives revenue in my business, it feeds my family. I've got every incentive to keep going. A couple lessons that I'm taking away just from those obvious things that are happening is I want to keep publishing content on all platforms because it gives the feel of being everywhere. And even if I'm not growing fast on things like Twitter or YouTube, I'd rather be growing consistently than not growing. And I have a baseline metric that I could start to improve than not have a metric at all. And then I want to keep focusing on where I'm getting the best results. So as far as the time investment, if I have 10 hours of content creation each week, which would be a good week. I normally don't have quite that much because I am running a business. But if I have 10 hours, then I probably want to allocate like 7 of it to LinkedIn and to email, and the remaining 3 to Twitter and to YouTube because I'm getting the biggest bang for my buck on those platforms. Why would I not? And then if I do have extra bandwidth, I know what time investment, dollar investment, or skill investment would take my growth to the next level. So say that instead of 10 hours, one week I have 15 hours. And I use those 10 hours and I've got plenty of content for all the platforms. Then to take it to the next level, there's a few things I could do. I know that if I were to spend more time actually figuring out how to package YouTube videos, have a nice thumbnail, have a nice headline, have a better intro, that would pay off big. And I could probably learn it in 5 hours, like one week. A dollar investment, this would be like if I paid for a coach to help me learn how to do XYZ, help hold me accountable. And there's something interesting there. Like I could use coaching on YouTube for sure. On LinkedIn, I think this kind of ties into skill investment. Like if I could learn to create better graphics, I see I see people take the biggest, like Chris Donnelly. If you go look at his account, let's just pull it up. Let's just pull it up live. Let's see if I can. Chris Donnelly, LinkedIn, pull him up. Look at the visuals he's using on his posts. Let's see. So this is a carousel. That's great. How to create perfect carousels. That's fun. These types of infographics right here, I've seen work exceptionally well. I don't know how to build these or create these, but if I could learn, that would be a high leverage skill because I could tie this into my content. These are assets I could use elsewhere, and my content would most likely perform better. And so I think I can improve on my visual game, and especially for LinkedIn. And that would be a skill investment if I have the time or the bandwidth to work on that. Okay, now let's get to the specific platform. So starting with LinkedIn, here's the overall stats. So you could see follower growth, I more than doubled in the last 6 months. Fantastic. Impressions, really solid. Profile views, posts, you could kind of just look at the rest of this. I won't go over all of it, but that's January 1st through June 30th, so the first 6 months of the year. And this equates to about 52 net new followers per day, which seems a lot more approachable than saying 9,400 followers or 1,500 per month, because there's things you could do to get more followers on a daily basis. If this isn't the primary metric I care about, so I'm not just insanely optimizing for this. If I was, I would maximize my connection requests every day and I would write content that gets views. Like just try to go get more exposure. All right. Viral giveaways drove a lot of that growth. So the reality is I probably get 20 or 30, 20 to 30 followers a day just on regular days when I'm posting. However, viral giveaways have been a big growth lever. And so if I were to look at my LinkedIn account growth, there's like these spikes, and some days I'll get 300, and those are usually the days when I'm doing viral giveaways. By the way, viral giveaways don't work quite as well as they used to, but they still do work. Other post types that did really well: pitch in publics, case studies, two steps, intro posts, announcement posts, tactical noon videos, LinkedIn hook roundups. I did some targeted connection requests, so probably 500 to 1,000 of those 9,400 followers came from connection requests. And then, like most people, my reach is down in the last 2 months, which doesn't change anything for me. I still want to write good hooks, have great content, and include great media with that content. Quick forward look, visual assets make a big difference. I've either seen zero production, like a shot from your iPhone, a screenshot from an email. Either that works really well, or going highly produced, like the Chris Donnelly that I just showed you. LinkedIn's become my biggest lead source, so I'm gonna absolutely spend time here. Okay, let's take a look at X. So X, 423,000 impressions, 3K profile visits compared to 5K LinkedIn, so it's still like not bad. If you go viral on X, you can go like 10 to 50 times more viral than you do on LinkedIn. A lot of people don't realize that, but like if you get 150,000 impressions on LinkedIn, that's considered viral. Versus if you go viral on X, it's like 1.5 million or like 15 million. I know plenty of people who get 10 million views on a thread. But my growth there has been exceptionally slow. So 100 followers for that many impressions seems like I'm probably just surfacing the impressions are mostly with my existing followers. So yeah, I'm not doing any paid ads. I'm not doing any engagement groups or anything. But that's one reason where I haven't put a ton of time there. I do love the actual incentives on X. So because you don't have your work history like you do on LinkedIn, and you're worried about what your boss is going to think, like people will just reply with what they actually think, and they're not worried about being perceived a certain way. And so there's a lot more like transparency, organic, genuine honesty there. And I really do like that. Another thing is, while you can do long form tweets, most tweets are still 280 characters or less. And that constraint makes you a better writer, and it makes for great source material to use on other platforms. So going forward with X, viral threads are what drives the most growth. And so I'd like to do some more of these. It's one of the toughest platforms to grow from scratch on right now. But for those that already have an audience, I have 8,500, what does it say, 8,200 followers. Then it's still a good marketing channel. I still got some leads this last 6 months from X. And so the biggest thing is just posting more here because I've slowed down to a couple of times a week when I used to do multiple times a day. And so I think this is worth doing. It doesn't take that long. It gives me a great kind of I can just test ideas really fast and take the best ones, use those on YouTube, use those on email, use those on LinkedIn. Next, YouTube. Also, Nikita Beer, if you know who that is, just got hired as head of product at X, and I'm hopeful that the product will improve there. Okay, YouTube. So I've been doing YouTube for 10 months. I took a 2 month break somewhere in there. And from the beginning, I said my goal is I just want to create 50 tactical, useful YouTube videos. Zero production value. I'm using Loom to create this. I have my headphones on. Sure, I do have a mic. You can see it here, but I'm not even using it right now. And right now, I'm at 38 videos. So getting close to that 50 video goal. And the reason I wanted to do that is just to get a ton of reps. You can see my month over month subscriber growth. It's been really steady, and it's been relatively effortless for me. I create these videos. Of course, like creating this document is a little bit painful, but I'm not doing that just for YouTube. Like I'm also using this in many other ways. So it's been like that's just a signal to me. It's like I spend probably 30 to 60 minutes a week for YouTube, and it still just continues to grow. I'm not putting that much effort into it. YouTube hasn't driven a ton of sales for my business. It's not, I wouldn't consider it a marketing channel for my business, but it has a lot of leads have referenced it when I've been on sales calls with them. And so there's this kind of long form benefit where people can build trust with me, feel like they're having sitting down and having a conversation with me. And so I think it's helped as far as my conversion rates. So both like my close rate, but also my number of followers to leads rate. So that's been great. Here's the actual analytics you could see. And next 6 months for YouTube. So I'm really bullish on YouTube. I use it all the time to learn stuff. And so like I have this thesis of long form content and personal branding becoming bigger and bigger differentiators with so much more content that's infusing the internet, so many more AI tools, and AI tools need source material. So where are they going to get that from? They're going to get it from the people who continue creating. And then if you have a personal brand, like I think it becomes even a bigger differentiator when the rest of the internet is saturated with AI content. I already called this out, but there's a lot of signal because I'm growing without a ton of effort. I think a couple of small tweaks would massively improve my YouTube. And so this is a game I plan on playing forever, and I just want to keep producing videos and make each one a little better. Email. All right. So my newsletter, I've made a lot of big upgrades this year. You could see this is my like subscriber growth, net subscriber growth. So you could see the months March and the end of May, beginning of June when I launched products. This is where I lost a lot of subscribers. But overall, you can see I've gained probably like 700 subscribers a month or something. It looks like 600, which is 20 a day. I feel really good about that because it's not my primary call to action. Like if you were to go to my LinkedIn, you'll notice, and I'll just do it really quick. You'll notice right here that I have book an appointment as my custom button. So that's what you're seeing on all of these posts. And also right here, book a consultation calls in my featured section. This is one area where I get email subscribers, but it's mostly been from the viral giveaways or two steps that I do. So really happy with it. For the first 12 months, I've been writing an email newsletter for like 18 months. The first 12, I didn't drive any revenue, which fascinating that I kept going, right? I'm a big believer of playing the infinite game with content. However, in 2025, I've sold over $50,000 of digital products from my email list. I would say probably more like 30 to 40 that's come from my email list. I've had a partner on the digital product side of things, Daniel Bustamante, and he's also driven a similar amount. Combined, we've driven something like 50, $60,000. Then I made a big pivot in April of 2025. I used to call my newsletter the social selling newsletter. I changed it to the LinkedIn Lead Lab and I made a more clear value proposition where every week I will break down a big LinkedIn creator, show what they're doing well, show what they're not doing well, so that everyone who follows can basically learn what's working on LinkedIn, what's not, and they can implement the best stuff for their businesses. Then switching, I've actually closed some clients from my newsletter, and it's become more of a marketing channel for my service agency business. Next 6 months for email. So I love email because it's just more reliable. It's like I have a pretty consistent 40% open rate. If I have 5,000 email subscribers, I could pretty much guarantee I'll get 2,000 impressions every time I send an email. I can't guarantee that on LinkedIn. Sometimes I get 10,000, sometimes I get 1,000. And so it's really predictable, and I love that. I'm not at the whim of X or LinkedIn, which, by the way, I've seen a lot of algorithm changes in the last 4 years. Another reason I'll continue leaning on email is I can fill demand fast for anything. So I've launched two cohorts and they've both worked very well. If I open up a new service, I can get instant demand. If I want to test something, which I have, like if you guys are interested in XYZ, click here and I could just see how many people click and if there'd be interest for me doing something. So it's just super beneficial in that way. There's a lot more attribution. And then I'm planning on continuing organic growth across channels. And so with that, it's like newsletters a no-brainer to just get more people onto the email list. And the truth is I don't care about the number of newsletter subs. I just care about how much revenue and leads that drives to my business. But with that said, I know some people that are having success with paid ads, growing their newsletter with paid ads and turning that into revenue. And so that's something I'm interested in. I might experiment with it. And yeah, if you've got any special insights, I'm all ears. Lastly, I almost feel irresponsible, like not talking about business results in context to this. So, because that is the purpose behind all of the content that I'm creating. So I just wanted to put it here. Like I won't share my exact numbers, but Suffice it to say that in the first half of 2025, I've made 70% of my total 2024 personal take home profit. So that means if in 2025, basically my numbers stayed the same for the rest of the year, then I'll increase my profit by about 50% year over year. However, I do expect to continue to grow. It's been a while the business has a lot of looks like a roller coaster, it's generally up. And so very well could be more than 50% profit increase. And most of that growth is attributed to those social platforms. Sure, there are other things. Yes, I send DMs. Yes, I have some partnerships, but social content and content in general has become my number one lead source, and by a decent margin. Lastly, fun fact, so personal take home profit is the number one business metric I care about. And I'm not running a venture backed business. And so I think that makes a lot of sense. If you want access to this document, it'll be the first link in the description below. And if you want help making LinkedIn one of your best marketing channels, then would love to talk with you. I do just help businesses that are doing over 30K per month, just so you're aware. Cheers.